Hello everyone, it is time for this week's live stream. I told you last week there wouldn't be one. Well, things changed and here I am at my desk, so let's do the live stream. I want to thank Rogers Reef Food for sponsoring my channel. They provide a food that your fish can chew on like steak on a bone. I think it's a pretty good comparison. Also, Coral Magazine is the magazine I'm the executive editor of. If you have an aquarium, you should be subscribed. It's that simple. I mean, seriously, please subscribe. Not only will you be supporting the last printed magazine in the US dedicated only to saltwater, you'll be getting a bunch of cool information to read. So on the left there is our last issue, Jaw-Dropping Jawfishes. The current one that's in fish stores now and is in your possession, hopefully if you are a subscriber, is Aquascaping with Algae. And the next one to come is going to be The Cycle, starting from scratch. I snuck it in there. Nobody knows I shared this, but here you are. You get an early preview of what is to come. I offer one-on-one consultation. If you need help with your aquarium, you can email me at sales@MeLovesReef. We'll do a 1-hour video chat, talk to each other. I can help you with what's going on and move on. All right, and here I am. So I see a few people here, and I wanted to tell you that I feel a little bit bad to even do a live stream, but let me explain why I'm here. I was supposed to go spend time with my grandson for his birthday today, and I asked all week long what's going on, and I finally got my answer yesterday and they're 2 hours south of me in a town called Temple. And I was told yesterday afternoon, oh, our decision is to drive to Houston. I'm like, that's even farther away. I mean, from my house, it's about 5 hours away. So I would have to get up really early, which I don't do, to get in my car to drive down to their house and then get in their car and ride for another 3.5 hours. And then once we're there, we were going to explore NASA together, which is awesome. I would love to do that, but I need more notice. I can't leave Jack that long because they're going to spend the night in Houston and then come back sometime Sunday. And I was like, yeah, I can't commit to any of this. So here I am still at home. And I just did a live stream a couple nights ago with Reef Dudes. So if you want to tune in to that channel and find that conversation we had, that's available for you. And then right now at the moment, let's see if this works. This live stream is happening over on Novel Aquatics YouTube page, and then also it's simultaneously being broadcast on the ACI Aquaculture YouTube page, so you can go to either one of those channels and watch what's going on right now. This is a 24-hour marathon live stream with a whole bunch of guests. So right now they're actually doing a session talking about coral spawning. Super interesting, but here I am talking to you instead. So if you are wanting to stick around with me and let me answer some of your questions, I can do that. Or if you want to abandon this channel and go to that channel and watch what's going on over there, I don't blame you one bit. I put the link already in this video's description to jump you right over to the 24-hour live stream. They've already been going for about 3.5 hours, I believe. So, and I will be on that stream later today, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, I think. I don't know. I'm terrible at that kind of time zone stuff. Maybe it's 5 Central. I don't even. I'll have to double check, but I'm sure someone will text me and say, Mark, where are you? So I'll be on that one a little bit later today to talk some more. In the meantime, though, I did want to at least say hello to everyone here and catch you up on a couple of things that are going on with my aquarium. And then, like I said, answer some of your questions. I also spent a little bit of time investing in this channel earlier this week, where I use software called ECam Live. I've been using it for many, many years, and I always kind of fumble around in it. It always, I mean, I've watched the playback, and it looks way better than what it feels like on my side of the camera. And I always find that I'm like, oh, why doesn't this work? Or we've had incidents where you're looking at the wrong thing, and I think you're seeing the right thing the whole time, and I realize like 8 minutes later you're on the wrong slide. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. It drives me crazy. There was times where my microphone was a problem, but for the most part, I've handled that. But what I ended up doing that I was watching some tutorials. It was some sessions where you could learn more about how to do some what do they call it? One-stop recording. So there would be no editing. You just kind of do these things, and boom, you create this awesome video with minimal effort. And it's like, yeah, I'll tune in for that. Let me see more about that. And one of the things that I ended up buying was a teleprompter. Now, I don't use a script, so I'm not going to have like words going in front of the screen like you might have seen in movies and TV shows where they run a teleprompter. But what it'll do is it'll put the screen right there over the camera, and I will be looking directly at what you see. So I'll never be on the wrong slide again. And that's really important to me because I find myself being so focused on the camera that I don't pay attention to what's happening over here. I make a mistake of some kind because I'm looking here trying to keep eye contact with you the whole time that I end up messing up. And that is frustrating. So if I can have that thing right there showing me what you see, I will know I'm on the right channel. I've plugged in a Stream Deck, which gives me buttons to play, and I can do things. But like, for example, I did something yesterday, and it kept doing it over and over, so I better not do it now until I install... Well, let me install the stop button really quick, so that way I can show you what I mean. It's over here somewhere. It's down here. Stop sound. I want that button. Okay, so now if I were to say something slightly funny... and then I can hit the stop button. Whatever. It's not like I'm going to be throwing these things in there, but occasionally something's fun to do. And so if I can drop it in there, that would be kind of cool. Then, what else? The reef tank last Saturday. Did I have a live stream last Saturday? I feel like I did not. I feel like that was the day everyone came over for the club. Yeah, I did not. So I released a short 9-minute video about my aquariums, and nobody watched it, which I thought was really funny, because I know you guys love the live stream. And I turned around and I thought, okay, well, at least let me show you how the tanks look because they're so pretty today. But I put in the title, it was the DFW Mass event came to my house, and no one cared. I'm like, wow, that's okay. Did not expect that. And even YouTube said, no one's watching your video. And I was like, thanks for rubbing that in. That felt great. So I changed the thumbnail on the front, and I also changed the title, hoping that would pick up some views. So if you were wanting to see these aquariums a little bit more close up, be sure to click on that video that I uploaded to my channel here, 7 days ago. And you can see it. It's short, but it shows you all the tanks. During their visit, I gave away probably 40 or 50 frags, which included acros, bird's nest, fungias, which were not frags. It was the entire coral. And one guy wanted the big one. And I was really surprised, and I said, are you sure? Because most people don't want something enormous. And he was like, no, I absolutely want that. So we grabbed one of those large quart-size Ziploc bags, and I picked up the coral. It fit in there like a giant cookie. It was the whole bag, and he was like, this is great. He was super happy. I also removed quite a few of the small anemones in my tank and put those in in different containers, and people grabbed those to go. And after everyone left, my reef was pretty much the same. I mean, there's a slight change where things were cut. I do want to also point out something that was really cool to me as I've been in this hobby a long time. According to my records, I got in here in '97, and I found myself, I've learned a lot over the years, and certain things just stick in the back of your brain. But as I was trying to cut the corals to give them away, I was expecting my bone cutter to just go snip and take the piece and put it in a container, and they were so hard to cut through. It was like cutting through stone. And I know they're called stony corals for a reason, but invariably in the past, I found that it's really easy to snip off a Montipora, snip off, especially a Capricornus, which is the tabling, the ones that swirl. Those just snap off. You can just reach under and it breaks off like a potato chip, and it would not even budge. I was like, wow. And then the bird's nest, it was like cutting through porcelain. It was super dense. Well, that tells me that my strontium levels are really good and have been really good for a long time, because strontium is one of the building elements of a coral. And when you're low on strontium, your corals tend to be more brittle. That means if you're reaching in the tank and you bump it with your arm slightly and it just snaps off, you're probably not dosing enough strontium. And I dose it twice a month using Prodibio, and I'm all out of any more of that. I just have what's left in my possession, and then I got to find some other product. Probably I'll use like a Reef Blueprint instead, because it's a concentrate. And that way I can keep those levels up, because everything that I was trying to cut was impossible to cut through. And I was actually very impressed by that, just on some weird internal level. Now, Uh, I got a text a couple days ago from one of my friends, and he says, "Mark, we really got to get your tank back to its former glory. This is kind of terrible, and you need to get rid of all these anemones. You need to get rid of every anemone, and I know you love them." I was like, "Yeah, I do love them. I don't want to give them up." And so he said, okay, maybe keep the one for those clownfish. And that's exactly my thought, because that one has shrunk down very small. It's not the size of a Recordia or anything, but it's much smaller than it was because all the other ones have taken so much space that it is retreating and shrinking. So and it's probably not getting the food because when the food goes in the tank, it's landing on all the other ones and they're stealing it and it's not getting enough to eat. It's just surviving off of light and what little bit of clownfish might bring it potentially, depending, compared to the other 200 surrounding it. So I'm going to be removing those a section at a time. Fortunately, they're attached to everything, and which means I can pluck out a coral that used to be a Duncan colony. I can pull that out and probably take out 20 at once, and then take out another Duncan colony that's been destroyed and take another 15, and that'll get 35 out of the tank in 2 grabs. And I will just be reaching in and grabbing and pulling out what I can to remove their mass from the aquarium. I'll throw them in a temporary tank in case somebody wants some, or maybe I can put them in a box and ship them to some company like ACI or Tidal Gardens or Unique Corals. I don't care. Just, because I can't ship them and sell them one by one. There's too many, and I don't have nearly enough boxes, and who wants to pay this kind of money for a small little anemone? I don't know. I'm a dry goods guy, so, I don't know. If you guys think, oh no, I want to buy that from you, then let me know and I'll see what I can figure out. But I'm trying to avoid the headaches of, dealing with livestock. So that's kind of the update on that. The tanks behind me, they're doing fine. This little guy here needs a small water change. And the big tank needs me to start removing excess. And that's the news. So let's jump here. I set up a new slide. Let's see how this works. So we're going to go ahead and drop this in here. Look at that. Oh, cool. So Steve says, I need to get a copy of the May-June Jawfish Coral magazine issue. It looks like you have the regular and the collector's edition. Do you want to get with the collector's edition or what's different? I shouldn't have more than one on my website. They just are super expensive because there's only there's a very limited run of those. They're almost completely sold out. And so if you're able to find a regular issue somewhere, like I said, I don't think it's on my website. I think all you're going to find is going to be the one that's considered collector's edition. And it's just because it's so hard to come by. So that one's on there. Let's see. Baker's Reef is here. He says it's been a while. It has been a while. What have you been doing? How's your tank? And that's it. We've done the 2 questions. If there's something you want to talk about, now is your chance. Let's see who's all here on this stream. Let me turn something on here. Yeah, see, everyone's on the other stream. That's what's going on today. My feelings aren't even hurt. I just felt like, well, let me at least hop on here briefly and maybe we could talk for a little bit. But, realistically, we may be stuck with ending the show very early and everyone's just going to jump to the other live stream because that one's going to be way more informative than the one I'm doing today. And I don't blame anyone for that. Actually, there's only 99 people watching their stream right now. There's Mina. How's it going? Whoops. Wrong stream. What's going on? So how's your little tank, Mina? I enjoy your little updates. Reef Keeper, Phil, it's in this video's description. There's a 24-hour live stream happening over on a different channel that started a few hours ago, and it's a marathon. It's got Chris Meckley, and I'm over here promoting a different channel. It's got Chris Meckley and Salem Clemens, and they are interviewing people. And like right now, they're doing a spawning session. That's their conversation with Carrie O'Neill and Dr. Jamie Craggs, who I tried to get on the Markna event a couple years ago, and because he was busy, we couldn't connect. We couldn't get him in. Okay, let me tell you something else. I built something recently. Actually, give me a minute. What can I make this work for once? Can my life be easy for one time in my life? Let's try this. So first of all, let me put this here. All right, now let's jump to, let's see if I can do this. We're going to kind of do a little juggle session here. So this is supposed to be me and an iPad, but it's not an iPad. Will it go to my phone? Wouldn't that be cool? Oh, it's doing the camera. It's not what I want. I want the screen. Let's try this. Connect to Mac Mini. All right, let's try that. No, that's not what I want. Boo. Okay, that didn't work. Well, actually, yeah, there we go. Okay, that's goofy. I got it to work. All right, cool. So let me change the shape here, obviously, because, you know, iPhones are tall. They're not 4x3. Let's try this one. That looks like a cell phone. All right. And we'll make this so big that the picture is on the screen, like that. So I had to make this box for a customer who's local to me, and he picked it up. And this is actually my first ever algae turf scrubber that he designed, and I had to then build together. So the side walls are black, the dividers inside or the baffles are black, but the front and the back are clear. And the front being so he can see the water level, and I guess the back, oh, I remember, he wanted the back clear so he could look through the scrubber to see what's happening behind with the plumbing and the tubes and things. So there's that hole in the front, that is going to be, or that is where the plumbing comes out and drains back into the sump. And then on the very top there, you can see I made a nice little polycarbonate lid with some holes. And those holes are to snake the wires in for the lighting and maybe if a pump was added later or something like that. And then here you can kind of see it from above. And you can see there's teeth in there. Well, you're thinking, why does an algae turf scrubber have teeth? Well, he said, I would like the ability to, if this scrubber thing doesn't work out, I want to make it a refugium. I was like, okay, no problem. So that back zone could become a normal, typical refugium. He said he could even figure out some way to extend the wall up even higher to have a deeper refugium. So it's not only, that's probably like 9 inches tall. So he could probably make it like 15 inches tall and let that flow over and into the next baffle and then under. So it was giving him some flexibility for the future. And then that's looking at it from the back. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see. And with that drinking cup right there, you know, you kind of get a sense of scale how big this thing is. So it came out good. I put a little shelf right there in the upper. Oh, you can't see it. Let me see if I can do this. See, there's a little shelf right there. And that's to hold the plumbing up when he pushes it through. So give me a second here. I'm going to jump to a different scene. And I'll go to my texts where he sent me a little photograph, or he sent me a video, I think, of the thing. Let's see, where is he? This could be anyone. Okay, got it. So, actually, what I'll do is I'll save it to my phone, and then well, this is fine. I'll just share it. Go back here. Was it this one? Yeah. So here he is. He's got it installed. I was having to guess how the plumbing was going to sit in that, you know, across that pipe, and I guessed a little bit high. So he adjusted. He drilled something out to level it out so that the screen isn't hanging at a leaning tilt. And so here you can see he used a Forstner bit to bring it down a little bit lower. He says it hangs a little bit better. It's nice. And then he sent me this little video. And you can kind of see it in operation. And then, of course, the lid sits on top. And I asked him, well, how is it working out for you? And he told me that it's completely silent, which is fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that, because you just never know what's going to happen when it comes to, you know, making something from scratch for someone. I also have another thing that I'm building for someone. I'll show you guys this because it's goofy. First of all, and he was teasing me on Reef Dude's live stream. Let me see if I can find him. I don't know. See, he's not in here by name, but I think yeah, here we go. So you guys know what the Peacemaker is. Let's go back. Where is it? Oh, my button went away. Let's go. Oh, I don't have a thing for that. Let me do it the old-fashioned way. Click on this. So that's a regular peacemaker, and it has an acrylic piece that spans the tank, and it sits on the front and sits on the back on a tank that has Euro bracing or plastic trim. That has been the way I've made them from the very beginning. It's just a system that is very stable, and it can't fall in the tank, and the livestock is nice and safe while it's in there for a few days, learning and getting acclimated to your other fish without being able to be attacked or bit or damaged. So he said he wanted a different type of style. So I went ahead. I'm doing this for privacy reasons because I don't want you guys to get something weird on screen. So I'm jumping back and forth. But anyway, here is the thing that I'm going to build, and I've started it already. This guy right here, it looks completely crazy, but what he wanted was he wanted this peacemaker to run along the front of the tank, but the tank has a huge 3-inch Euro brace. And the back has no bracing at all. It's just rimless. And he wants the box to be in the front because of his aquascape and his corals growing upward. And he said, I feel like the front will always be open. I'll never accidentally hit a coral. And so he said, you know, can you make me something? And we were debating back and forth through a lot of texts until I finally came up with this right here. And I sent him the photo and he goes, yes, do that. So what you're looking at is a top-down view of a completely different peacemaker than I've ever made before. And I've made some different iterations. This one will hang across the front of the tank. Those two tabs on the bottom that look like legs, they will sit on the Euro brace. There was absolutely no reason for that to be a solid piece all the way across. It's pointless. It's just, this will look better sitting on the tank versus having a big slab of acrylic. And then you've got that big bar going to the back. That has to support the box from falling into the tank. And so that bar will go all the way across and rest on the back 3/4 inch glass. So this is one that's coming. You'll see pictures of it once it's built. Like I said, I've already started it. I still have to cut out this top piece. This is what you're looking at, is the top piece that will be glued to the box itself. Also, the box is bigger than the standard size I make, which is normally 12 by 6. He wanted this to be 14 by 8. And all those squares you see in there that look like, you know, Colosseum steps, what that is the how do I describe this? And I'm sure, you know, there's no way I can, yeah. So that one, the outer boxes, that is the box. That's how I know where the box will sit. And then the two little inner boxes are going to be the recessed part in acrylic where the lid will sit. So that's what you're looking at. So that's something I've been working on this week. I have been quite busy with custom orders, trying to take care of things for, you know, different custom demands. And I've been doing that for people. So that is that. I'm kind of looking forward very much to getting this new, whatchamacallit, this new teleprompter thing. And it comes tomorrow, of course, a day too late. But that's all right. I'll have it for forever. And then also, I kind of tilted my office a little bit to kind of get this dumb doorway out of the way because I felt like that would look a little bit better. But now this light over here is reflecting off the background there, and it kind of spoils some of the look if I happen to move out of the way. But I do want the ability to do a couple other things in here, and I had to start with something. So that's some of what's going on right now. Well, I knew Tidal Gardens... Okay, hang on. Let me throw this on here. Yeah. I knew Tidal Gardens always comes on about the time I'm doing a stream. Usually they start an hour before I do. But I did not want to compete with a 24-hour live stream because I thought that was kind of rude. I mean, it's sort of like if anyone does their... I mean... They didn't, did they? Did anyone do live streams during Markna, or did they all cancel theirs just to give us the full attention? That would have been nice. Baker's Reef says the tanks are good. Ventured off on a small quarantined fish and coral business. Oh, nice. And then normal work as a lineman. Been very busy. And your frag tank you built me. Absolutely love it. Oh, I love that part. Thank you so much. Wow, let me see. I notice this just trims. Actually, let me do the other box because I like that. I made this new thing that you guys saw, and that way when I put a text in there, look at that. It just fits so nice. It's so fancy, and it looks like I'm looking at the words. It's so cool. Yeah, no problem. I figure I put the link there. That will give everyone the ability to just jump over there. I actually went... This is interesting. You know, so ACI Aquaculture who does live streams all the time on Facebook. He's constantly filming all those corals and talking for 30 or 40 minutes. Hardly has any videos on their YouTube channel. And so when I went to search for ACI Aquaculture on YouTube to find their channel, I found them on all the other channels where they've been interviewed about their business. They are a coral wholesaling company, and they sell some other things too, but it's mostly corals. And I could not find their channel to save my life. Well, it turns out if you want to go to ACI Aquaculture YouTube channel, you have to literally type in at ACI Aquaculture, all one word, and then you'll find their channel. But you won't find it any other way. You'll find Tidal Gardens talking about it. You'll find Reef Builders talking about it. You'll find Mila's Reef talking about it. All of us that have interviewed Chris Meckley over the years, all of our videos show up, but their channel doesn't, which is craziness. But they are hopefully going to start putting some videos on that channel a little bit more frequently, and they need people to subscribe to it. And then the other channel, the one that I put in the link in this video's description, is Novel Aquatics, and that is Salem Clemens' new business. And so he has a brand new channel that's only has something like 455 subscribers, including myself. And so it's a very young channel, and he also is it's gonna take some time to build momentum. I'm glad to hear your little tank is doing great, Mina. That's awesome. Fabbrizio is here from Boston. He says, I'm using ChemiClean and the tank looks great. Okay, let me give you an update on that too. So my frag system that you guys know, I drained it, I got rid of all the Mahanos, I restarted it, I cycled it, I put in fish, and I put in 4 chromis and 1 died, but it died sucked against a pump. Maybe it was chasing the food and got sucked against it, but the other 3 are totally fine. That tank was getting darker and darker and darker, and I couldn't understand why. I was really confused because it was like looking at a black hole, and I kept thinking, why is this tank so dark? Now, keep in mind the acrylic that I've described to you has been it's been ruined over the years. The tank is 7 years old. The inside had like all kinds of coralline growing on it, and it just is an orange peel type surface. It's not slick acrylic, and I refuse to take the tank down and polish it for 15 hours. I'm just not going to do it. I'd much rather just build a new tank. But I knew I had to deal with getting the anemone cube up. I knew I had to get the 400-gallon reset, and I thought, just let me clean it out so I can put things in it and not worry about Mahanos covering everything to where I can't even give frags away. So in the meantime, this tank is getting darker, but it's not the lights. So I was assuming it's cyanobacteria because I was seeing some red blankets on some of the rock. The ugly stage is happening because I just reset it a couple of months ago. Well, restarted it a couple of months ago and cycled it. And now, the rock went from bone white to kind of brown and ugly. And now it had these red blankets. And then I noticed on the front along the bottom was kind of this red blanket. So I thought, all right, I'll just use Red Cyano RX, which is the same as ChemiClean. And it's just the product I sell out of my shop. And I put it in, and then, I'm looking at the tank, and the cyano is not dying, which is really strange. And I thought, I'll just give it more time. So I gave it 5 days instead of 3. I didn't put in another dose like I normally would. I just took a turkey baster, and I blew it all off the rock, which totally worked. And the rock became lighter colored because the red was now off of it and kind of sitting on the bottom of the tank and not really moving much. Probably because I have 1 power head in there, and I have a couple frag racks that kind of block the lowest of the flow in the tank because it's moving across the frag racks. The frag racks are also super dark, and they were clear acrylic when I put them in. So I decided, let me just do a water change, siphon out all this garbage at the bottom of the tank. And as I was siphoning big blankets of cyano into a bucket, which was great, I discovered that that the bottom of the tank had grown this dark stuff. And I mean, like I said, it was so dark, it sort of looked like the tank was black. But as I siphoned off a row, just like taking the tubing, the diameter of the tubing, and siphoning back and forth, the bottom of the tank was being revealed. It came off very easily. If I'd taken a credit card, I could have scraped, in huge piles of this stuff and then siphoned out a clump. But the whole tank got lighter just by siphoning it out. It's apparently some type of algae that has taken hold. And that tank's been going through some weird things since the new cycle. Because as you may recall, I talked about how the tank turned very green, like it was pure phytoplankton. And even the skimmate was coming out very, very green, like phytoplankton. I stuck it under a microscope, shared a video on this channel, and showed you guys. Well, that finally, I knew it would eventually burn itself out because it would use up whatever's in the water column and it would fail. It would collapse. It would go away. Well, it just jumped into this garbage. So now I have this weird, strange algae that was growing on the bottom and on the back wall. And around the time, like 2 days before I was going to do this water change on the tank, I was noticing that the back wall is covered in microscopic bubbles. Just bubbles, lots and lots and lots of bubbles. And that tells me that this algae that you see there is some kind of photosynthesis. Well, that's weird. I was like, I need that to go away. So I started siphoning the back and scraping it off, and it too is a little bit better. But it's super weird, and I'm very annoyed by it. I don't know what it is either. Steve says, RODI question, in regard to the 2 carbon filters, is there a benefit of using 5 micron first, then 1 micron carbon, or are 2 5 micron carbon fibers recommended? So here is my stance. And I do this based on what my own supplier, who I trust implicitly when it comes to water filtration, I feel like they are the most informed because they do commercial and residential water filtration. And then they sell to me for the saltwater hobby the very most niche of water quality needs that it comes to on the planet. And he said, we don't recommend the different size filters that like companies like BRS would promote. And the reason being is that those filters, the first one, the 5 micron, works perfectly. Never gives you a problem. But the 1 micron and then the 0.5 micron that some companies are pushing and recommending for a long time, they're gonna clog. They're gonna clog up, and your water pressure going to the membrane will drop, which means your membrane won't be as efficient as it should be. So if you have a 98% rejection rate membrane in there, but you've got such a clogged pre-filter that it's not getting the adequate pressure across the membrane, then you're going to have higher TDS coming out of the membrane, or you're going to have less water per hour coming out, and your DI is going to get depleted more rapidly because of higher TDS coming out of the membrane because it's not getting the right pressure. So ultimately, your best bet is just go straight across with all the same micron size. And that is why I only sell 1 micron size in my shop. It's 555. And that way, I never, ever get a complaint from anyone saying my filter clogged. Not in 20 years have I had anyone say, these filters are no good, I had to get new ones because yours are bad, or something like that. And that's good. I mean, there's no reason to have unnecessary complaints. So I would just say, stick with the ones that I recommend, the ones that I sell. And my filters are not proprietary. They're just one type. And so if you said, look, I want to buy them somewhere else, just get the same kind I sell, and you can keep going. I've not locked you into a thing where you are stuck buying my filters for the rest of your life and can't buy something else, like some brands do. No, they are industry standard size. The micron level is what I recommend, and what works really well. And, in theory, you get the best water quality possible. But of course, there are other things to take in consideration with every single person in the United States making water, because the water quality varies from county to county, not state to state. County to county. Literally, I'm in Tarrant County. The next county over could have a much different water quality than I get because of their rules, because of how they handle their water. And also, the time of year can affect even the water in your county. Like for the summer example, in the summers, we find that our water quality tends, especially in a bad spring where we have very little rain and there's drought conditions, the water source is being treated differently to prevent illness. And so they're adding extra things like chloramine to the water to prevent humans from getting sick. They don't care about what it does to our aquariums. They are worried about the human beings in their city, within their limits, the county. So I could be getting great water from the city in the winter, fantastic water in the winter, and then in the summer I could be getting poor quality water. And so even with the exact same filtration system in place, my output could be different from what it was during the winter, is what I'm trying to say. And then, of course, the temperature of the water coming out of the ground, out of the pipes, will be different in the summer than it is in the winter. And I've had a few people in the past tell me that the difference isn't that great. But in Texas, the water coming out of the pipes is nearly what I would consider hot. It's terrible. And you don't want to even drink it because it's warm, you know? So that, and then the water getting the pipes, you know, coming out in the winter could be much lower, like 45 degrees, where it could be much closer to almost 80 degrees or so coming out of the pipe during the summer on the cold water side. And that temperature difference will affect the output of your RO system. The cold, like for example, if your water going into the RO system in the winter, I always use this example because it's an easy one to remember. If the water coming out of your pipe is 50 degrees in the winter, and that pushes into your RO system, your membrane on your RO system will work at 50% of its normal rating. So if you have a 100-gallon-a-day system and you're pushing in 50-degree water, you're going to get 50 gallons a day instead. So you'll get 2.5 gallons an hour instead of 5 gallons an hour because it's so cold. The system still works. It's still filtering the water exactly like it should. It's just doing it way slower because the water's so cold. Those membranes are rated for 76 degrees, optimum conditions. The other optimal conditions for source water would be less than 200 TDS coming out of the pipe, and also coming in at 60 PSI or better. And a lot of homes, the water pressure coming out of the pipe is 40 PSI. So that's why some people find that by adding a booster pump to their RODI system allows them to have an increase of pressure to get a little bit more efficiency out of the membrane, which of course makes the DI resin last longer. Thank you, Michael. You know, I didn't think you abandoned me, but I didn't think you'd run 2 videos at once. Alex says, I've never done a water change after dosing ChemiClean. No ill effects. I assume they tell you to do it to reduce nutrients. No, when you're done killing cyano, you need to do a big water change on your tank and then get your skimmer back into operation. And by the way, on my tank, I have that little Nios skimmer. And it is on a skimmer stand, but of course it was the volcano effect. Even though I changed quite a bit of water, I changed about 25-30% of the water, and it still did it. So I ended up, this was funny. I have this little tiny cute peacemaker that's made for that tank behind me. And it's just a box with a hook, and it hangs on the rimless tank. And I was able to set that box on its face in the sump and set the skimmer on it. It was exactly the right footprint for that skimmer, and raise the skimmer up higher to where I could run the skimmer without it overflowing. And I adjusted the skimmer to its lowest setting, and I was able to skim and empty the cup for a couple of days, and now it's working completely normal on its normal skimmer stand. But I was able to repurpose something, you know, that isn't made for that at all. It worked out in my favor. So if you happen to have like my rimless peacemaker that you normally hang on a rimless tank, and you were to need to raise your skimmer in your sump, it might fit the skimmer zone, and you can set your skimmer on it and raise it up 6 inches higher and get the skimmer under control a little bit quicker. The Dry Reef says, I'm plumbing some closed loops today. I bet you are. So he's been making lots of changes at his reef. If you guys aren't following the Dry Reef on Instagram, I highly recommend you go subscribe, because he has got the most over-the-top system. It's one of the most over-the-top systems I've seen in a while. I've seen some, and his is it's fighting for top position. It's pretty crazy. He loves flow. It's insane. So yeah, those closed loops are for some giant pumps, because he's got a new frag system going, and he wants to make sure that the water stands up like a pyramid in the center, like a volcano in the center. Charles says, thanks so much, Mark. Makes so much sense. I went with the 5 micron, then the 1 micron the first time, and had that exact scenario. 555 from now on from me. Thanks so much. Good. I'm glad it helps you. That was my goal. Okay. Curated Reef says, I am having issues stopping a siphon from my main RO container after I turn off my pump. So like a top-off system. I'm using 3/4 inch PVC plumbing or piping for plumbing from the RO container to my ATO. Oh, okay. So you've got like a barrel, an RO system filled a barrel, and then you're pumping water from the barrel into your top-off reservoir. And that one you need to break the siphon on somehow. Okay, I got an idea. Maybe it'll work. Since that's PVC pipe, 3/4 inch piping, maybe you could cut the pipe somewhere, anywhere, you know, either near the barrel or near the top-off container, whatever is easiest for you. And then install a T-fitting with a valve, you know, with one, you know, part standing up So you get the T here with a little nipple at the top, another piece here. Here's your pipe going straight across from the RO water to the top-off reservoir, and then put a valve there, and you can just open and close the valve. And you can open the valve to break the siphon and then close it again, and that way it'll stop moving water across. That would be one idea. Trying to think if there's any other idea. Oh, I have another idea. Might be even better than the valve thing. Maybe. Might be tricky. You know how the top-off barrel... I'm sorry, not top-off. Forget top-off. The reservoir that holds the RO water has a pump with pipe going up. If you have the vertical space above it, you could put, again, instead of that being an elbow, make that a T so that water goes up from the barrel and goes across toward your aquarium area. But then the other one goes straight up a lot. That's one option. It can go up a lot, or it can go up a little bit and then go into an elbow and then an elbow going down. Now, here's the thing. When the pump is on, it's going to push water up, and it's going to want to keep going up and then come down and go out that double elbow I just suggested, right? But the rest of the water is going to go through the pipe to your top-off reservoir. So you're going to be splitting the water going both directions, right? And the one near the barrel will probably be quicker. It'll probably be pretty proficient versus the one that's further away because of back pressure of water pushing to a pipe. But here's the thing. As soon as the pump turns off, that hook part, because it's above the water line, will immediately suck in air, and it should stop the siphon entirely. That would be my guess. So maybe something along those lines will be your solution. And the other choice is just the vertical pipe goes really crazy high, which is way higher than the pump can push up. And so while the water might rise in the pipe a whole bunch, it doesn't go up to the top to overflow. And so all the water is going to go to your top-off reservoir, and then as soon as the pump turns off, that water is going to drop. A little bit more is going to drain your container, and then it's going to, stop moving. That would be the other choice. Those are my suggestions. Does any of that make sense? Does any of that work for you? Mark says, I just set my skimmer cup at an angle, so the overflow leaks at the neck, so yet still get good bubbles rising up. Okay. I don't know. I'm a little lost with that one. I'm sorry. Ask me more. You can break the siphon by drilling a hole. That would be the first thing that would work. That's kind of what we do a lot of times inside the reservoir where the water is moving to the top of reservoir. That's one option. So try one of those things and tell us how it works. Whether you do it creatively with plumbing or you just start drilling holes in it. The trick is wherever you drill the hole, water's going to squirt out while the pump is on. That's very important. So you want to make sure it's squirting the right direction. Matter of fact, the pipe that's coming up out of the big barrel, you could drill a hole in that one. But you want, like, if this is your... I wish I had pipe laying around. If this is your PVC pipe and you're drilling a hole, don't drill this way. Don't drill like that. Drill like this at an angle. So that way when the water's pushing up the pipe, the water is peeing back into the barrel. And that's a much smaller amount of water, and that would probably be your easiest one. But that hole you're drilling must be above the water line at all times. So you're going to put it at the highest point possible in your trash can or your barrel that holds the RO water and squirting water back down. And then, of course, if you have an RO container of any kind, I would always recommend put a lid on top of it because we want to keep it from getting polluted by anything in the air that could settle into the water and raise the TDS and ruin your pure water and make it dirtier. So you're very welcome, and thank you guys for some of your advice. Mark, I still don't understand this thing about the skimmer cup. What are you doing? I don't get that. I feel like I'm missing a part of that. And there wasn't an earlier comment about skimmers. All right, I have this extra button here somewhere, I think. I do. I added these buttons. Hide comment. Boom. It's gone. I'm trying to learn to embrace Stream Deck. I bought one years ago, and it has 15 buttons, and it allows me to do certain things on my screen. Like, for example, one thing that you guys can't see, but it lets me hide all the controls for the live stream so I can see a nice clean version. See, like, for example, I just noticed at the bottom, this stupid PIP is in here. I don't want that there. But, you know, with all that clutter on the screen, it's sometimes easy to make a mistake. So I'm trying to learn the gear. So I've had the Stream Deck, and it, you know, I plug it in once in a blue moon, and then I take it off, and it gets really dusty. I cleaned it off again. Oh, okay, I get it. So you're saying that if the skimmer is overflowing, you take the cup and set it at an angle so they can leak out the side, and that way the cup doesn't overfill? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Well, that doesn't really solve the problem of what's causing the skimmer to overflow in the first place. I mean, it definitely keeps the cup from making more of a mess. I totally agree. But for me, I'm all about dialing in the protein skimmer as quickly as possible back to its normal status. And that usually takes me about 6 hours to lock one in versus waiting a week or two for things to settle down. But thank you for explaining that, because I didn't know what you mean. Hey, stop doing that. Alrighty. Let me see something here. All right, well, I think we'll just do this and let you guys go on with your day. I want to remind you guys that today is Water Test Saturday. Please test your water of all your aquariums. You know, I don't care if you have 1 or 17. Check the water in all of them. Make sure everything's nice and healthy, so that way your livestock will continue to thrive and grow and fill the tank to its brim. And if you do those things and you take good care of your aquarium, it will reward you with beauty. Also, you know, if you're looking to buy anything for your aquarium, please check my shop. I appreciate the business. It allows me to keep doing these shows, and it lets me feed my dog and myself, which I really appreciate. And I hope that you have a great weekend, and I'll see you again next week, unless my grandson and I do something on Saturday. So we'll find out, and you'll find out. Bye, guys.